The Great Migration was the movement of millions of African Americans from the rural South to the urban North and West between 1916 and 1970. It was one of the largest internal migrations in American history, and it had a profound impact on both the South and the North. The Great Migration was caused by a number of factors, including economic opportunities in the North. The North was industrializing rapidly during this time, and there was a demand for cheap labor. African Americans were attracted by the higher wages and better job opportunities in the North. Political disenfranchisement in the South. After the Civil War, African Americans in the South were granted the right to vote, but this right was gradually taken away through Jim Crow laws and other forms of discrimination. African Americans were tired of living under these conditions, and they saw the North as a place where they could vote and participate in government. Racial violence in the South. African Americans in the South were often subjected to violence, including lynchings, beatings, and rape. This violence made it difficult for African Americans to live and work in the South, and it drove many of them to the North. The Great Migration had a profound impact on both the South and the North. In the South, it led to a decline in the Black population and the loss of economic and political power. In the North, it led to an increase in the Black population and a rise in racial tensions. The Great Migration also had a significant impact on American culture. African Americans who migrated to the North brought with them their own culture, including their music, food, and art. This helped to diversify American culture and make it more inclusive. The Great Migration was a major event in American history. It is a story of hope and resilience, but also of struggle and discrimination. It is a story that continues to be relevant today as African Americans continue to fight for equality and justice. Here are some additional events that took place during the Great Migration. The First World War. The war created a demand for labor in the North, and many African Americans moved there to find work. The Great Depression. The Depression led to job losses and poverty in both the North and the South, but African Americans were disproportionately affected. World War II. The war again created a demand for labor, and many African Americans moved to the North to work in defense industries. The Civil Rights Movement. The Civil Rights Movement of the 1950s and 1960s helped to end legal segregation and discrimination in the United States. This made it easier for African Americans to move and live where they wanted. The Great Migration ended in the 1970s, but its legacy continues to be felt today. African Americans are still a minority in the United States, but they are more diverse than ever before. They are also more politically active and more successful in business and the arts. The Great Migration helped to make this possible.